Hey everyone, today we're going to be comparing the Evergoods Civic Half Zip and Mountain Panel Loader. In the video that I did for the updated edition of the Civic Half Zip, there were some requests for a comparison video with the MPL, just given that there were definitely some similarities in the style and the functionality between the two bags. And in this video, I'm going to be talking about those similarities and also some of the key differences that you want to keep in mind to find the one that's going to be best for you. So really excited to dive in. Before doing so, if you're new here, welcome. My name is Danny, and on this channel, we love reviewing popular travel and everyday carry gear. If you like these types of videos and you'd be interested in seeing more, please consider subscribing as it helps the channel out a lot. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and jump in. Starting off with the overall aesthetic, to me the bags have a pretty similar appearance, which makes sense given that they're both from Evergoods and I do have the black colorway for both. On the right, I have the MPL22 and on the left, I have the CHZ22. Thankfully, the materials are slightly different, and so for the purposes of this video, I'll have the MPL22 on the right, and because it has the EcoPack fabric, it's gonna have a little bit of a shinier appearance. Both of these to me have, Evergoods' typical subdued crossover vibe, so it's gonna work well in the outdoors. It's something that you can take into the city and not have it look out of place. I do think that the MPL22 has a little bit more of kind of that outdoorsy and hiking bag vibe, particularly with the silhouette. It just looks more rounded, and that's just sort of the vibe that I get from it. Whereas the CHZ22 feels simpler and like something that I'd be more comfortable taking into an office setting. But I think both of these look great. They're gonna work in a variety of situations. They'll be great for traveling. And so which one is gonna be best for you will be based on just the slight differences of the use cases that you may find yourself using it more for. As far as the materials, both of these feel very solidly built. For the CHZ22, this has Evergoods' 840D ballistic nylon. It feels very rugged. It's going to offer a nice amount of weather resistance. For the MPL22, the version that I have here is EcoPack, which I've been a big fan of. I've actually really liked Evergoods' EcoPack collections. I don't know if or when they're going to come back in stock or if there's going to be additional bags added to that lineup. This one has held up very well as far as the durability and the weather resistant. It just feels like water is not going to get inside of this bag. And it also has a little bit more of a rigid structure, and so I've really liked the EcoPack fabric. I believe this is also offered in their 420D nylon, so maybe won't feel quite as thick as the 840D ballistic, but still very durable. I've used that fabric on some of their other bags, and so regardless, it's gonna work well. One of the cool things about the EcoPack collection is that you do get the aqua guarded zippers, so you have that extra protection against the elements. For the CHZ, you don't have the aqua guarded zippers, you have the reverse coil zippers that do have a DWR treatment, so you still feel like you're gonna have plenty of protection. And so as far as the durability, both of them are gonna hold up very, very well. It'll really just kind of come down to your preferences as far as the feel of different fabrics. And then continuing along the outside of the bag, one of the best things about both of these is that they have Evergoods' water bottle pockets. And so these are some of the best in class, very similar style and size across these two bags. So you're gonna be able to handle a 26-ounce water bottle super comfortably. I believe that they're rated to hold up to a 1 liter, and they have drainage at the bottom. Elasticity, you have one on each side. MPL22 also has, that same style that works very well. And so this is something that is always great to see on Evergoods' bags because they really are some of the best on the market. And then when they're not in use, that elasticity pulls the pockets closer to the bag to just maintain a cleaner aesthetic. And then on the front, both bags have the Evergoods logo as well as the hook and loop backing. And on the top, they're gonna offer a comfortable carrying handle, as well as some loops that you can use to clip on a carabiner. And so here you start to feel some slight differences. The handle on the CHZ feels a little bit more rigid, whereas this MPL handle feels not quite as much so, but still they're gonna offer a similar style to me. And then the last thing I'll mention while we're talking about the exterior is how well the bags stand up on their own. I would say the CHZ does a better job here. It just has a flatter, more stable bottom, particularly when the bag is more packed out, whereas the MPL has that more rounded shape that can tend to tip the bag forward, particularly if you don't have the EcoPack fabric, which is a little more rigid and can help with that. It's really just not a bag that is easy to place down and have any confidence that it's gonna stay up. Moving into the capacity, both of these come in at about 22 liters, and it does feel to me like they can hold a pretty similar amount. The space is distributed differently due to the differences in the layout, but both of them are very capable day bags. They're able to hold more than you would think for a 22-liter bag, which also allows them to work for longer days, potentially for use as a minimal travel bag. So you get some additional versatility in my opinion. And they're both a little bit on the taller side, and then the silhouette between the two bags is gonna feel different. To me, the MPL22 can take on a much more rounded shape when you pack out those external compartments. And I think that makes sense, just given that it's meant to be more of an active bag, whereas the CHZ has a more, I guess, traditional or less rounded silhouette. And so I think that, again, they both look pretty good. It'll really just come down to your aesthetic preferences and the type of gear that you're carrying. I personally prefer the CHZ's aesthetic a little bit more, but I've still really enjoyed using the MPL and haven't minded at all how it looks while I'm wearing it. Continuing with the harness system, to me both bags have been really comfortable to wear. They both have Evergoods' typical style harness, so they offer decent amount of padding on the straps, and they're gonna have that contoured shape. On the inside, they have the new breathable material that Evergoods has been using on their bags. They have an adjustable and removable sternum strap. They both have the hydration bladder pass-through that come through the shoulder straps. And then on the back panel, they're both gonna offer the same style of harness, that has that breathable material, padding that's distributed throughout. You have some slight air channels. And so pretty similar, but the MPL does not have the rigid frame sheet that the CHZ has. And so from what I've seen and from what I've experienced, this does feel like the MPL is gonna be a little bit more comfortable for more people. I haven't heard anyone complain about the lower back issues and how the frame sheet can dig into it with the MPL22, which makes sense just given that it does have some support, but it's not the same rigid material as the one on the CHZ. Now to me, the CHZ has always fit comfortably. It works well for my height, and I've always been a fan of Evergoods' harnesses, so I like the rigid support that is provided here. But if that style of harness doesn't work well for you, if you're worried about the bottom digging into you, then that's where the MPL can, maybe have a little bit of an added benefit while still offering a good amount of comfort. And then one last difference to note with the MPL is that it also includes a removable waist strap. So you have the ability to add one here at the bottom, which again makes sense given the kind of more outdoorsy and hiking focused nature of the bag. So this is going to allow you to stabilize the pack, give you a little bit more support. I'm usually not a huge fan of these, so I just take it off, and I'm glad that it's fully removable. But if you're somebody who actually likes to use this, you'll definitely want to keep that in mind when you're comparing between the two. Jumping into the organizational options, this is really where you will start to see some of the biggest differences between the two bags. So kicking things off with the Civic half zip, you have a nice quick access pocket on the front that's gonna have independent volume. It'll be able to handle things like sunglasses. I have my AirPods in here, a charging cable. I also have a headlamp. And then on the inside, you have a little lanyard with a clip for your keys. And so that's the only quick access pocket that you have with the CHZ. You also have a dedicated laptop compartment. This was a new addition with the latest iteration of the CHZ, and I really like this. It makes it much easier to reach my device throughout the day, and this is still a dedicated, padded, and suspended laptop compartment. So you can drop your laptop in there. It's not making contact with the ground at all. You have a nice amount of space. Very easy to get it in and out, which is super helpful when I'm using this as a bag that I'm taking into the office. And so I personally really like this change. I'm a little sad to lose the top quick access pocket that used to be on this bag, but I kind of prefer having the dedicated laptop compartment. And then moving over to the MPL, you also have a fairly similar style quick access pocket at the top, again with independent volume. So here I have my packable tote bag from Peak Design. I have my AR glasses that I use to watch movies while I'm traveling. And then you have a lanyard with a clip for your keys or a multi-tool. And so these compartments, I would say, are pretty equivalent. The CHZ's feels maybe slightly bigger, but similar placement, similar style. And then for the MPL, you have an extra compartment here. I wish so much that the CHZ had something similar. It feels like you have the space for it, especially with the pattern established here, but Alas, maybe for a future iteration with the MPL, you do get this awesome extra compartment on the front that does go all the way down, so it'll be able to handle packable jackets, pouches. I have my admin pouch in there, as well as the Civic Access pouch 1 liter. Just fits perfectly into this compartment, so I've been a big fan of that so far. You also have drainage provided in this compartment, so very cool if you are tossing a wet jacket or other gear. You know, you're gonna have that ability to ventilate the compartment. And no dedicated laptop compartment on this one. So there is a sleeve in the main area, but you have to open it up, which brings us to the main compartments. And in this regard, they are also different because the MPL has a clamshell style opening, which allows the zippers to go all the way down and open this up so that you have full visibility into the main area. And then the CHZ, as the name implies, is a half zip. So it's a top loading bag. The zippers still go down a good amount, and then the lid flips over. So you still have a lot of visibility, just not quite as much. So it's not as easy to pack out as a clamshell style bag in my opinion, but I think that this layout does work very well as a daily bag. And right now I have the MPL loaded for minimal travel. I have my toiletry bag, an extra pair of shoes, I have a packable rain jacket, and then I have a compression packing cube from Peak Design. That is the medium size, and that fits in there without any issues. And on the back, you can see that you have a sleeve here on the inside. It's got a nice elastic material. It is pulled up off the bottom of the ground. So if you want to use this to store a laptop or a tablet, as I have done here, you'll have a little bit of protection, but it's not really a padded sleeve per se. And then it's not easy to get a device in and out when you have the rest of the compartment packed out, or it's not as easy as with the CHZ because of that dedicated compartment. But it can still work. Especially if you're not using the bag primarily as a tech bag, you still have that ability to just toss your laptop in there if you need to. Then you have this Velcro here that provides access to the frame sheet. And on the other side, you have additional zippered pockets. And so this is something that Evergoods always does super well. You have the mesh zippered pocket on the lid, also has a good bit of volume, and the vertically oriented zipper allows you to access it from one side of the bag. And on top of that, you have another quick access pocket with a nice amount of space. And so really love the layout of the MPL. Feels very reminiscent of many of Evergoods' other bags like the CPL, the CTB, pretty similar kind of style there. And then moving over to the CHZ, as I mentioned, at the moment I have more of an EDC layout. And with the items that I have here, there's still leftover space. I could toss in the Civic Access pouch 1 liter, the packable jacket. And so the open layout of this compartment really allows it to hold more than you would think based off of its size. And so I still have a little bit of leftover space, but I'll dive into the items that I have. In addition to the Cap 1 and the packable rain jacket, I have my Beats wireless headphones, the Civic Access pouch half liter, an Air Tech pouch. I also have my Bellroy Tech kit, and then down at the bottom I have the Civic Access pouch 2 liters, and all of that fit in there without any issues. And this layout works great for minimal travel as well. You could toss in that compressible packing cube, as well as the extra pair of shoes, the toiletry bag. All the items that I had in the MPL will easily fit into the CHZ, and it still feels like there's a little bit of space. It's not overly packed out, and so yeah, similar capacity as you would expect, given that they're both 22 liter bags. So go ahead and pull this out, and then on the inside you can see that this one also has an elastic pocket. Could be a good spot for a tablet, for some documentation. And so this is pulled up off the bottom of the ground. And on the inside here, as far as pocketing, you have a zipper pocket near the top, which is still gonna offer enough space to hold something like some charging cables, tech accessories. And then we have another one on the lid. This one's a little smaller, but it still offers more than enough space for the types of items that I would just want to prevent from falling down into the bottom of the bag, or that I might be reaching for more regularly. And so here I just have my USB-C hub that goes with those cables. So big fan of the simpler layout here. Just feels like it provides a ton of flexibility. And then coming back to the MPL, just kind of loading it out with the daily setup that I had in the CHZ. So you can see that it will also fit pretty comfortably. So same pouches that I had in the CHZ, just to get a proper size comparison of the daily loadout as well. So toss all those things in here. You just kind of load them at the top. Again, you have that flexible layout because of the clamshell style opening, and then come around to the other side and have enough space here for my alpaca admin pouch. Zip that up. And then with the clamshell opening, you do have the counter pulls here, which is nice to just kind of help manage the larger zipper. And then even with those items in there, you can see still leftover space here. I could take advantage of this pocket if I needed to. I could place the packable jacket in here as well. And then you still have full volume on the two front compartments, so you can, really take advantage of that space, even for something bulkier. It'll change the shape of the bag a little bit, but great that it could accommodate it without any issues, which is fantastic to see. And then the last thing I wanted to showcase is getting a laptop here into the main area when everything is packed out. I have to kind of find the sleeve down amongst all the things and then try to slide it in, which can be particularly challenging if you have maybe a larger laptop. I was able to squeeze mine in there, and so it can accommodate it. It keeps it off the bottom of the ground, but every time I want to get it in and out, it's going to be not as convenient as the dedicated compartment on the CHZ, but it closes, it works. And then to wrap up, I'm just going to pack up the CHZ with that same layout that I had earlier so that the bags are filled up. So shoes, toiletry bag, and it all feels comfortable here. I will say that the silhouette or appearance of both of these bags can be heavily impacted by how full they are. If they're not completely packed out, you will have this section here that can kind of sink in, and you don't have that quite as prominently with this version of the CHZ. At the moment I have it really packed out, so it's not going to show, but also the EcoPack fabric helps navigate that a little bit. But I have noticed that it can still have a similar effect where it just kind of collapses in if the bag isn't full, which is not a huge deal. It doesn't impact the function of the bag, just the aesthetics, but it is present on both. And so as far as layout, as far as capacity, both can work well. They're going to be a little bit different, but they can hold an impressive amount. And so ultimately, which of these is going to be best for you, I think will primarily come down to your preferences as far as the layout. If you like a clamshell style bag, of course the MPL is going to have an edge there, and you're still going to get the external water bottle pockets as well as the extra quick access pocket on the front, which is awesome. And then if you're somebody who prefers a simpler top loading layout, or if having a dedicated and well padded laptop compartment is critical, then the CHZ is going to have an advantage there. But regardless of which one you go with, you're going to get something that's going to be very durable and just work well in a lot of different situations. And so that's it. Those are some of the similarities and differences between the Evergoods Civic half zip and mountain panel loader. Hopefully this video was helpful, and if you have any questions on anything that I covered in the video or suggestions for similar bags that I should check out, as always, please let me know in the comments. And I'll make sure to include links in the description below to the dedicated reviews that I've done for each of these bags, as well as to some of the other comparison videos featuring bags from Evergoods. And I'll include links to some of the roundup videos that I've done where I've talked about my favorite everyday carry bags, favorite personal item bags, bags that I like to use for one bag travel. And if you have ideas for other roundup videos or comparisons that you'd like to see, please let me know about those as well. And I want to thank you for watching and supporting the channel. If you enjoyed this video, please give us a like. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming videos, and we'll see you in the next one.